everybody. I hope you're all okay. I hope you can hear me as well. Let me just double check that you can hear me. Because if you can't, then we're in some trouble. I hope you're having a nice evening. Yeah, I think it's going to take a while for this to show up. For some reason, on this particular day, or this particular week, I was finding it quite difficult to organize the live. Like, anytime I sent the link to somebody, they couldn't access it, or there were a whole bunch of different things. It's really strange. So I hope that wasn't your problem. This is my problem, and this is my life. So it is working. That's good. I'm glad you can hear me. That's a relief. How is everybody today? Are we all good? I am in a bit of a pickle because being able to see the number of people who are in the live, normally I do that from my tablet or I do it from my phone, but today I can't do that because I can't see a thing. Don't know why it's not being recommended to me. Maybe it's because it's nighttime. You know, it's a little bit mysterious this time of the day. Maybe that's why it's not working properly. It's very weird. Like I can't even get this to work now, so I don't know what's going on. I'm hoping for the sake of everybody listening today that you can hear me. I don't know. Am I cursed? I think I might be a little bit cursed. Oh. Okay, let's see if we can get this to work. It's like my YouTube is in Korean as well. I think that something terrible is happening. Something terrible is going down today. So let me just see if I can get it up one more time, and then if it doesn't work, I'm just gonna work on vibes alone. I mean, look at this. It's just all wrong. Wow, that's actually really annoying. Where's the GD live? It should give you a notification when I'm live, right? That's how it should work. But clearly my YouTube is not having it at the moment, which is a little bit disquieting. Disquieting? Who knows? Who knows? Well, hello everybody. I hope you're all good. This entire live is probably getting pushed into the dredges by the algorithm or whatever. Maybe I can't even change accounts. Is this helpful? No. Wow, I'm really annoyed. Like, if you search the grammar police, you get latest Lahore updates. Like, okay, it's good to keep up to date with the news, but I would like to think that, you know, if I'm subscribed to somebody that, you know, that would get recommended to them, to that person. But no, all of my YouTube right now is absolutely just dog water. Dog water, very good expression. If you're a young person, dog water just means like really bad. Maybe my last ditch effort, my final attempt, is to go on my own emails, check that I have gone live, because normally I get an email saying that I've gone live, and then see if it comes up. Because normally I get a YouTube notification saying, Emily's just gone live. Emily's now live. Am I not going to get one of those this time? I don't even deserve it. Well, anyways. Okay. It's just going to be... It's quite annoying. It's quite annoying because, like, at least in my case, I do these live sessions every week, and for some reason I can't seem to get YouTube to pay attention to me. I love attention, and that's what I want. That more than anything, I want people to be able to find the YouTube channel and to practice English. Hello? And they can't even see me anymore. I'm just blurry now. What's it trying to focus on? God damn it, dude. I'm allowed to say that because it's Saturday and it's not Sunday. How incredibly infuriating. Well, that's that then, I suppose. Well, okay. Fortunately enough, maybe it's got something to do with the particular topic that we will be discussing today, which is the topic of phrasal verbs. So, my intention today... Oh, is that why? I'm unlisted. Oh, for fuck's sake. Why is it unlisted, you stupid son of a... Oh my goodness. I've been sat here complaining for the past 10 minutes, and it turns out that the reason why people weren't connected was because it was unlisted. Wow. If anybody's from the school, apologies. I don't think anybody was watching from the school though. I mean, it makes sense, I suppose, to a certain extent, that that's what happened, maybe? I don't know. Let me see now if I can... Oh my goodness, this is really annoying. Okay, Emily's live. Yes. Okay, finally. Jeez. Okay, so. Here's what we want to do. First of all, now that I seem to have successfully unlisted myself, which is something that I think I've done, not 100% sure. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of our live session. I hope you're all doing well. I was very confused there because for the first 10 minutes of this live, I was talking to myself and getting really annoyed because I was like, where is everybody? People normally are like liking or viewing or doing something. And it turned out I had unlisted the live. So I was searching for it on my phone because that's how, so I have like the playback on my phone here to check the comments, right? So if somebody asks me a question, then I can respond to that question. But because I'm an absolute dingus, I didn't realize that I was just like waiting for nobody effectively, and I was just going to be getting angry at the algorithm for 10 minutes thinking that it was me that was doing something wrong. And yes, I suppose it was me that was doing something wrong. Let me just double check the audio. Effectively. Okay, so I'm using a different microphone this time. This is my, let me see if I can pick it up. This is my Yeti microphone. And the reason that I'm using this is because sometimes I use a very small microphone that you've seen before, the one that I put here, like on the ridge, on the bridge of my glasses, or sometimes I put it like here on my cardigan or something like that. I like that microphone a lot and it's really one of my favorites, but it's not good for long-term recording because I have to charge it, and then when it runs out of charge, if there's nobody in the live to tell me that it has run out of charge, then I'm just talking to myself in complete silence for you guys for 10 minutes, because I think that the value of these live sessions is not necessarily because they are live, but actually because you can watch the recording, and that is quite helpful. So I hope everybody's doing okay. I hope everybody's doing well. How are we? How are we today? Are we good? Are we bad? Did we have a nice week? Tomorrow is Domingo de Ramos here in Spain, which in English, to my knowledge, doesn't have a translation. I'm not 100% sure. It's a Sunday. It's the Sunday before Easter Sunday. So this is the last Sunday before Easter. Something that is also very interesting, because I live in Madrid, is that I can hear the sounds of the processions at this time of night. So I can hear the musicians, I can hear the instruments, I can hear all sorts of crazy stuff, and it's really cool because obviously it's that time of year. It's Semana Santa. It's Holy Week. So it's really cool. Yeah, in England we don't really have anything similar to Holy Week. We have Easter, so we have Good Friday, we have Easter Sunday, which is not tomorrow but next Sunday, and then we have Easter Monday, and that's it. But in Spain, you have like Semana Santa, you have the procesiones, you have the torrijas. No, you have the pasos. So they have like floats, and they carry different saints and like different parts of the Bible on these massive platforms, and it's really interesting to see. But to be honest, I think that the best part of Semana Santa is not necessarily the seeing, not the visual aspect, but rather the audio. I love listening to the music. It's really good. I'm a very big fan of that. So yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Well, okay. Today, as aforementioned, and regrettably for you guys, we are going to talk about phrasal verbs. So you might be thinking, goodness, Emily, why are you doing this to me? I thought we were friends after all this time. And the answer is no. Your teacher is never your friend. They want the best for you, but they also want you to suffer quite a lot. And that is the plan. That is the plan today. We're going to do just a little bit of suffering. Before we get started, though, I would like to remind people that we have a live session, or that we have a live session, that we have a school, which is basically my online English course. Now, let me just double check that it's working correctly. Yes, it is connecting to our live. Wonderful. People who are a member of our school can access lots and lots of English content for free, which I would now like to show you really, really quickly before we continue. That's my YouTube channel. Almost. Good shot. Let me just change it over to, there you go. It's called Emily's English for Adults because I figure that like children wouldn't use this. But basically, on this school we have lots and lots of different activities. So we have essential grammar, essential vocabulary. This is my view, so my intention over Easter is to add more materials for IELTS, selectividad, language search, things like that, to improve people's level. And then of course on top of that, if you enjoy these live sessions and you come to ask questions, we also have a little coffee chat. Sometimes we do some extra sessions. It really depends. Right now it's $12 per month, but for paying premium people it's only $12 per month for the first 50 people. So if you would like to join, if you are considering it, please do so, because after we have 50 paying members, it's going to go up to a number that I haven't decided yet. So, anyway, here's what I'd like to do today. I would like to practice some phrasal verbs with you. So, I am going to move us back on over to Phrasal verbs. Oh, it's not letting me do it. What's that all about? What's the reason for the season? Okay, well, this is a page. Oh, that'll do. Okay, well, anyways, clearly I'm having plenty of issues today. But regardless, I still think it's important that we do our phrasal verbs. There is one thing that I want to do though. I want to take this. Yes, and I'm going to stick it into. Sorry, I'm just giving you a play-by-play of what I'm doing on OBS right now. I want to put no. The questions thing. You know the one. If you've got a question, leave it in the chat. This one. There you go. Because I think a lot of people, maybe they join and then they don't know that they can talk to me. And I'm really chill, and you guys know that I'm chill. So, you know. Join the school, ask a question. Join the school, ask a question. I don't think it's super complicated. You know. So, anyways. Let's talk about phrasal verbs, baby. So, I'm sure that you are all deathly aware of what a phrasal verb is. Um, however, let's do a little definition regardless, okay? So, a phrasal verb is effectively a verb and a preposition together, right? It's not like something like take a shower. A lot of people think that like something like take a shower would be a preposition because it's a verb and then it goes specifically with a noun. But actually, this in English is called a collocation. I just realized I have my Spanish keyboard on. Like trying to spell and I can't do it. This is a collocation. So, for example, you can say to shower, but to take a shower is kind of just like a. You know that the word take can go with the word shower. With phrasal verbs, a verb and a preposition together normally create a new verb with a slightly different meaning. Sometimes it's slightly different, but sometimes it's very different. Okay, so for example, the example phrasal verbs that we're going to talk about today could be quite strange, or maybe the meanings will be quite different. So we might have something like to care, right? And then you have to take care, which actually isn't a preposition. Verb and a preposition. It's not really a phrasal verb. It's a noun. No, take care is a verb with a noun. But then equally you could say look after. You know, to look on its own is to look, but then to look after is to care for somebody. So yeah, it sometimes it can go with a noun, sometimes it can go with a preposition. I think most people and most phrasal verbs commonly go with prepositions. But yes, collocations are slightly different. Normally it's some sort of verb that always goes with a particular type of noun. And the meaning is the same. It doesn't change, okay? So before we look at some examples and before we discuss the meanings together today, I want to sort of divide this topic into multiple parts, and I want to give you some tricks to help you identify the difference between different types of phrasal verbs and also identify how to put them into sentences. So hopefully by the end of this class you'll be feeling quite confident about that. I can't stop fiddling with this. It's just so I mean it's really badly done. That's completely my fault, but you know, maybe I could maybe wait. Shh. Almost. Wait. See, look, I like it being neat, you know? Which I know you're probably thinking, like, Emily doesn't normally make things look very good. I would know because I have watched all of the phrasal verb videos. Isn't that right, guys? My YouTube videos tend to be pretty rudimentary, to say the very least. In the best way possible, of course. But let's make a table. So, I'm going to make a table that looks like this. Yes. Okay. we have a table. We have the definition of phrasal verbs. It's been 25 minutes. Wow. I can kind of understand why people do like longer streams now, you know? At the very least, something that I have noticed is that whenever I do a live, that all of the people start to come in maybe 50 or 45 minutes into the session, which is quite frustrating, really, because I would love to see more people during the lesson, but yeah, I can't be bothered to do 2 hours of class. The stats would be great, but yeah, the time I simply do not have. So phrasal verbs can be divided into two categories. They can be separable and non-separable. They can be transitive and intransitive. Okay, let's talk about what those words mean first. So let's start with separable. Separable and non-separable or inseparable. You can say both. Inseparable is also fine. Separable means that you can separate the verb from the preposition, or the not the verb from the the verb from the preposition. Sorry, I had a moment where I was like trying to think of an example, and then my brain sort of just went, and then I couldn't think of one. But let's use the example pick up. Okay, to pick up is the same as saying like to collect or to take someone somewhere, something like that. So separable phrasal verbs can separate the verb from the preposition and then put the object in the middle between the two. So for example, if I say, I will pick up our son from school, the phrasal verb pick up has come together, right, in one. But because it is separable, I can also say, I'm going to take this whole sentence, and I can take this object, our son, and I can put it in the middle, like that. Okay? That is a separable phrasal verb. Okay? Now, inseparable or non-separable phrasal verbs are verbs that you can't separate, right? You can't do the same thing. So, for instance, to take off, when you're talking about like planes, is when the plane leaves the airport, when it flies away, right? That's taking off. But the plane taking off, if I say, for instance, the plane takes off at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, okay? I can't put at 4 o'clock in the middle of this sentence, okay? It's not possible to do that. So, for that reason, this is an inseparable phrasal verb, okay? Nice. So we've got some nice and easy, nice and simple examples to get us started. What about transitive? What does transitive mean? Anybody know what transitive means? Transitive is something that, when I was in linguistics, when I was younger, we used to learn about transitive, we used to learn about valence, we used to learn about all sorts of different types of object placement in sentences. So to be transitive is to be a verb which has an object. Okay? So for example, to eat would be a good example, because you can say I like eating and then you can leave it like that, but then you also can say I like eating something, right? Pasta, salad, cake, things like that. Another example would be something like playing. You have to play something, right? Or punching. Normally, you have to punch someone or something, right? You need an object. So, for that reason, it is transitive. However, there are some verbs that are intransitive, which means that they do not have objects. There are a few of these. So there are some verbs with a valency of 0. So for example, it rains. It doesn't even have a subject. It rains. Another example could be doing sports. I don't swim you. In Spanish, something very curious happens with dance. Dance is intransitive in English because it doesn't have an object. But in Spanish, you could say like, ¿Te gusta cuando te bailo? And it's like, ¿te bailo? Yo qué sé. It's very strange. So activities, sports are examples of intransitive verbs most typically. Okay, cool. Nice. So we know what separable and inseparable mean. And we know what transitive and intransitive mean. But can we apply some phrasal verb examples to these? So for example, I think look after is a good one for this one. Look after, you have to look after something, don't you? Right, so that's a transitive phrasal verb. Right, what's an intransitive phrasal verb? Catch on. If anybody watched the most recent video, catch on means to become popular. So I could say the movie's really catching on. The movie's really catching on, okay, but it's not catching on a disease. It's not catching on famous. It's just catching on, right? So for that reason, it's intransitive. So, as you can see though, this is a table that has 4 pieces, which means that every phrasal verb has or doesn't have each of these characteristics. So let's see if we can sort of categorize or classify these different phrasal verbs into their respective sections. So for instance, separable and transitive. So this has to be a phrasal verb with an object that can be separated, right? Well, we can think of some examples. We've already seen some examples. Pick up is one. You can separate pick up. Okay. Great. It's an easy example. What about look after? Look after. Can you separate look after? Does it have an object? You can't separate look after because you can't say, I need to look my baby after. That sounds like I need to look at my baby or something. But yes, this is incorrect. Okay, so this was not quite right. So for that reason, it is non-separable. Look after is a inseparable phrasal verb. But it needs an object, so it is transitive. Okay? Here's a thought. Take off. Where does take off go? We talked about take off as the plane. Where does take off go? Well, take off doesn't have a subject. The plane takes off. The time, like at 4 o'clock, at 5 o'clock, is not an object. Excuse me. So, it's intransitive, right? But is it separable? Do you take the plane off? No, you can't separate it either. The take off would go here. All right, so we'll put an example. The plane takes off soon, for example. Okay. What about this one? What about an example of a phrasal verb that is intransitive and can be separated? Well, if you understand the meaning of separable, it means that you can take the verb and the preposition and put the object in between the verb and the preposition. But if a phrasal verb is intransitive, then that means it doesn't have an object, which means that naturally it cannot be separable, right? So for that reason, this entire section is completely unnecessary. All right? I like to divide my phrasal verbs into these different parts, but I think that it's important to remember that, yeah, obviously if you don't have an object, then you can't separate it, okay? Another interesting thing, so, okay, rule number 1, separable and intransitive phrasal verbs don't exist. Okay, that's rule number 1. I think it's an important rule to remember. Rule number 2. This is something that we haven't talked about yet. Phrasal verbs can have multiple meanings and change their characteristics between those meanings. That's an interesting thing. So, for example, take off. Take off is a great example of this. To take off is to watch a plane go, to watch a plane fly, right? However, to take off can also be to remove clothing, right? So if to take off can also be to remove clothing, let's think of the situations where you might use take off in that way. For instance, I take off my jacket. I take my jacket off. So it's not inseparable, right? In this case, sorry, I don't know why I'm being like all dramatic with you. Let me just check my camera. I have a very blurry camera today. I don't know what's wrong with it. Hopefully it's not affecting the sheer quality of this online lesson. So, for that reason, take off, it's transitive because it needs an object. But it's also separable. For example, I took my jacket off. Nice. Cool. All right. So, that's a good example. Take off is a really, really good example of that. Okay. So, there is another rule that I would like to tell you while we are here today. Rule number 3 about phrasal verbs. Now, in order for this to all stay on the same screen, I'm going to push it onto the next page. By the way, if you would like access to the live materials, all you need to do is join our school and all of the information will be on there. Okay? So, phrasal verbs can have multiple meanings. They can change their characteristics. They can go from inseparable to separable, depending on the context, depending on the meaning. Another thing about phrasal verbs, though, that are separable is that they have a special characteristic. They have an important rule. And the rule is this. If you are using an object pronoun, very important, specifically so, if you are using an object pronoun, you have to separate the phrasal verb. You can't leave it unseparated. So it's quite inconvenient like that, I suppose. It's quite frustrating, you know, if you're learning phrasal verbs and how to use them. For instance, I said before, I need to pick up my son. Is there an object pronoun here in this sentence? I need to pick up my son. No, because the object is my son. However, if I said I need to pick him up, I do have an object pronoun, right? The object pronoun is him. Okay. I cannot say I need to pick up him. I can't say that. That's a really, really important rule in English. I did not separate. I need to separate this verb. Okay? For example, does anybody know what this phrasal verb means? Call off. Call off. Anybody know what this one means? Call off. I need to call the meeting off. I almost called off the live session today because I couldn't figure out how to make it public. True story. Stupid story, but true nonetheless. Call off means to cancel something, okay? So, if call off means to cancel, something that's important about this phrasal verb call off is that it's separable, so we can stick it here. Is it transitive? Yes, you need to call off something. So, let's have a look at an example sentence. If I say something like, my boss called off the meeting. My boss called it off. It is the meeting, right? I cannot say my boss called off it because I have to separate, because I know that I'm using an object pronoun. Once again, it is an object pronoun. Okay, so we've seen a few examples now, okay, of phrasal verbs that have some strange rules, and this is just one of these examples. Separable phrasal verbs must be separated if you use an object pronoun. Okay? Cool, cool, cool. Are there any more rules to keep in mind? So, yes, there is one more rule I wanted to talk about before we continue. Is my extra rule 4 that's in red for some reason. My extra... Did I say reason? For some reason. Sorry, when I've spoken for a very long time. Actually, today I haven't really spoken very much. Which has probably got something to do with the fact that it's the first day of Easter for the day. Quite relaxing. Although this Easter, it is my intention to continue uploading all of my materials to my school, so that people can practice and do what they like. So there's a lot of work, there's a lot of things to do this Easter, but not as much talking as I was doing previously, so that's nice. So my final rule for phrasal verbs is this one. Phrasal verbs sometimes, sometimes have 3 words. So we talked about how it's verb and preposition, right? But sometimes it's verb and preposition and another preposition, right? Okay, it's an interesting thing, but it happens. So we might have things like get along with, get away with, put up with. There are some examples without with. I just can't really think of any at the minute. What's a phrasal verb that doesn't have the word with in it? Let's see if I've got, because I've got a little list with me here. Phrasal verbs with 3. I can't think of any. Oh my god. See, this is the problem. Sometimes I sort of plan in advance, but then sometimes I can't think of a bloody thing. Got no idea. Yeah. Look up to. That's a good one. And then equally, you could say look down on. Look up to is like to really respect somebody. And to look down on is to kind of like be very judgmental towards somebody because you think that you're better than that person. All of these 3-word phrasal verbs have no separability. They are not separable. They're never separable. Okay, it's just impossible. The reason for this is because, like, where would you separate it? Maybe it's a good way of thinking about it, you know? So, for example, I get along with my grandma, right? I get along with my grandma. I get my grandma along with. I get along my grandma with. My grandma get along with. That sounds like German almost. It's like the word order is crazy. Okay. So this is a helpful thing to remember. Another thing that is also helpful to remember is that a phrasal verb that ends in with is not separable. It's a useful thing to keep in mind, because anytime you have to say, like, anytime it's a person and you have to say with that person, the word with and that specific person have to go together. It sounds really strange to like move the person before the word with. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. That's a good little trick to remember. Okay. So let's talk about the meaning of these, shall we? Get along with is transitive, right? Has an object. Does anybody know what get along with means? If I get along with my grandma, what does that mean? Any clues, any ideas? To get along with is to have a good relationship with. So normally you get along with a person, you don't get along with a thing. That would be a bit strange, right? So I said before, I get along with my grandma. That's a nice one. Who do you get along with? Leave it in the comments below. Get away with is a really good example of a phrasal verb that we use quite a lot in English, but the meaning is not so easy to explain. So to get away with something is normally, it has something to do with like doing something a little bit naughty, something bad, successfully, right? So let's see if I can put these examples together. So I'm going to put this grandma sentence under here. There we go. Sorry, once again, I need to make a new page. We have so much stuff. Is this visible? Yes, fantastic. Cool. I hope people are enjoying this live. I actually really enjoy talking about phrasal verbs. So I hope for your sake that you are getting something out of it. And don't hesitate to watch this video afterwards, because there are plenty of phrasal verbs to learn from. So yeah, and you can listen to my neck cracking as well, which is always really fun, right? So yes, to get away with, it's like to do something bad successfully, maybe something naughty, maybe something even illegal, right? That's exciting. Um, so for instance, we might say something like, I got away with taking an extra holiday because I pulled a sickie. Now, this is a really good word. Do you know what it means to pull a sickie? To pull a sickie is to pretend to be sick to get time off work. I've never done that before. And I'm sure you've never done it either. Only professionals subscribe to this channel. I would never do that. Never. Anyway, so you can get away with more bad stuff. Let's see if we've got some more examples. I got away with killing my ex-boyfriend. That is a... I mean, it's, if you get away with killing your ex-boyfriend, it means that you killed him successfully, right? And nobody found you. Don't worry, I don't have any dead ex-boyfriends. So I'm safe. Yay. I realized on saying that like if I like I was like, oh gosh, you know. Maybe there are some English teachers out there in the world that have like admitted murder right on a YouTube live. And then I realised like probably not. Probably not the case. Anyways, okay, put up with. Does anybody know what put up with means? Put up with. Put up with is to tolerate. To tolerate somebody. Or to tolerate something. It doesn't have to be somebody. It would usually be like something or someone. Okay? So for example, you know, is there something annoying in your life that you have to put up with? Maybe you have to, you know, for example, you know, this is anybody who's in my school has to put up with me constantly because I'm always sending messages and saying, hey, you know, you have to do this homework, do it or I'll cry. So, you know, that's something that you have to put up with all the time, right? Another thing that you might have to put up with is your job. If you don't like your job, then you have to put up with it 9 times out of 10. Maybe if you have very loud neighbors, you have to put up with those. I know that in my case, I'm very lucky. I've got very calm neighbors. I can hear them now. It's a little bit ironic, isn't it? But it's not because, you know, they're naughty. You know, I let them get away with it. I don't complain to my landlord. I could, and I'm just kidding. They're not very loud at all. It's just very quiet. This is a very quiet live. And also, like I said to you before, the processions are happening here in Spain at Semana Santa, so everybody's a little bit excited. It's all very exciting. You can hear children practicing their procession marches, which is essentially, you know, you go to the top floor of a building and then you get your heaviest boots and you go and you go like stomp stomp. I know, that's great. Anyways, so I put up with my neighbours. My neighbours surely have to put up with me. I remember last year one of my neighbours said to me, 'cause she speaks English too, she was like, you're the English one, aren't you? And I said, yes. And she said, yeah, I can hear you all the time teaching English. And I was like, yeah. Yeah, I thought the walls were a little bit thicker than that. But it turns out they're not, so that's a shame, I suppose. But anyways, what can you do? Well, I said to her, is it annoying? And she went, no, it's good practice. So anyways, she was very tolerant. She was putting up with me. What about look up to? Look up to. Look up to is to really respect somebody, right? So to have someone as an idol, right? Do you look up to anybody in your life? I have a few people that I look up to in my life. I look up to. See, I said that. Actually, do I look up to anybody? I find that if you look up to people in particular, you can often be disappointed by them, which is maybe a harsh thing to say, but I do think it's true. I think there is some truth to that. Which is to say that if you look up to somebody and then they let you down, which is definitely separable, by the way, and then equally it would be transitive too. For example, I looked up to my old Spanish teacher, but then he let me down by telling people I was stinky. It's a good example, isn't it? Yeah. It was a little bit too specific. I promise it's not true. I'm not stinky. I totally promise. No, guys, don't let me down by telling everybody that I'm stinky, please. No, don't do that. So, yes, to look up to somebody. Do you look up to anybody? I don't want to leave this question unanswered, but I can't think of anybody that I look up to. Of course, I look up to my parents. Because, Google wants me to say because they... Have you ever heard of this expression? They have their shit together. It means like they know what they're doing, you know? They know what's going on in their lives. They are smart, prudent. So I look up to my parents as a way to encourage me, you know, to be the same. That's my plan. That would be very nice, I think, to be able to look up, yeah, and or to one day realize that I'm the same as them, that I indeed have my shit together. You know, that would be cool. So the opposite of look up to is to look down on somebody. So it's like to judge someone because you think you are better. In Spanish, is a very good expression. You say mirar por encima del hombro. You look over your shoulder or down from your shoulder to that person, because that person will never reach your height. It sounds cool, right? But in English, it's to look down on somebody. So, you know, for example, you could say something like, I hate my manager because he always looks down on me. Like he pities me, feels bad for me, instead of helping me and bringing me up with the rest of his team. That's a really good phrasal verb. Okay? So, I'm going to leave you all with a little bit of homework today. When I say you all, I mean people that are watching the video after the fact, because I'm going to make the assumption that most of you will be doing that. I'm going to give you 3 phrasal verbs, okay? I want to give you some good ones that we have not seen in class today. And I would like you to practice these phrasal verbs at home. But more specifically, I would like you to use them in a sentence and write that sentence in chat. So first of all, we have come across. Does anybody know what come across means? I will give you a little explanation as to each of them, what they mean. But then I will leave it up to you to write a definition or to write an example sentence in the comments below. Another one is figure out. Okay, and actually figure out has a few other ways of saying it too. You could say sort out. And then the last one that I want to do is bring up. Bring up. To come across is to find something or to find someone by surprise. So for example, well, I'm not going to give an example. I just said that. Just said I wasn't going to give an example. To figure out or to sort out is to maybe resolve something or fix something. But it could also just be like do a maths question. Or like do something hard, do something that requires some thinking, right? Like, I find it really difficult to figure out maths problems because I'm an idiot. It's not a very nice thing to say. And then to bring up is to mention in conversation, maybe in a surprising way, right? In an unexpected way. Maybe you were having a nice conversation with somebody and then suddenly somebody brings up, I don't know, oh, do you remember your ex-boyfriend? What? The one that you killed and you got away with it? Don't bring that up. Okay. So, yeah. Very nice. This is the end. That's the end of our phrasal verb quizaroonie. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave the table here. I think I'm going to put some of the example verbs here as well. So we had things like get along with, look up to, look down on, get away with, put up with. These all have objects, but they are all inseparable. And then we also had, well, that's it. I think that was it. No? Oh no, we had let down. Let you down. Let down has an object. You have a person that you let down. So yeah, let down. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. So, yeah, I'm going to leave this little table here. And then I'm going to, yeah, kind of just shut up and give you the chance to have a look at these materials and then ask me a question if you've got one. But if you don't have a question, all of the information pertaining to phrasal verbs will be in it'll be in the school. And you can have a look at our videos. I've just posted a bunch of videos about phrasal verbs. And by a bunch, I mean 2. However, they have 9 very useful phrasal verbs in them. Another thing that you could do is sign up to our school. All of our materials from the lives are posted there, so you can access any materials that you might find useful. Anything between A2 to B2 is completely free, and I'm very slowly uploading that. It is taking me some time though, as you can probably imagine. And then, is there anything else that I would recommend for people to do? No, not really. Not really. More than anything, I think I would simply recommend that people continue to engage with the YouTube channel. I want to take this opportunity now for anybody who is listening still after this whole phrasal verbs video to thank people who have subscribed recently. I really, really hope that the videos have been useful. It has been a crazy journey to go from having no subscribers to 500, and I have found it very eye-opening, the process of posting shorts and learning how to make YouTube videos. And okay, I'm not very good at making YouTube videos, but I'm learning, okay? Just in the same way that you are learning English, I am learning how to be a good YouTuber. I've discovered that I'm not 100% very good at that. But if you do have any questions, now is your opportunity. Yeah, that's it really. Phrasal verbs, we just talked about them. I can keep yapping, but the problem is that if I keep yapping, then people are too scared to like send messages. It's often the case. But I'm happy to yap. I'm happy to yap if that's what the people want. If you have a question, if you have a doubt, ask me the question in the chat because that's what I'm here for. Nah. It's really fun for me to speak to my students. I think it's actually one of my favourite things to do. is to answer people's grammar related doubts. Most recently, I did a post about how English people say was like instead of said. Instead of saying, I said this and then she said that, they go, I was like this and then she was like that. Right? And I had some English people in my comments complaining because they said, Emily, that's bad English. And I was like, I agree. I was like, I agree. Um, because it is not formal English, but it's interesting when you speak to other English people and they tell you that you are teaching English wrong, because those people, 9 times out of 10, are not English teachers, so they don't actually know what they're talking about. But it's not any fault of their own. It's not their fault that they feel that way about the language, right? It's just because, yes, if I was teaching English natives, I wouldn't recommend directly that they use was like, however, it's really important as a learner of the English language to be able to recognize what other people are saying, you know? So, yeah, it's been interesting to get 500 subscribers recently. It's been amazing because it has taught me a lot about you guys and the kind of things that you want to see. But also we've been getting more hate comments, you know. But the hate comments are just from English people who disagree with the language that I'm teaching. So I don't really know what the solution is to that. It's a strange one. It's very strange indeed. Um, in other news, because I haven't really used my voice so much today, and this is probably the last time that I'm going to speak. I got a ring light. That was exciting. That was really fun. I got a ring light. Does anybody know what a ring light is? It's like one of those. It's one of those things that people get for TikToks, where it's like in the shape of a ring, and then you turn it on and it's really bright. I got one of those, and it's quite good. It's quite good. But I don't think it works very well. Like, I was expecting it to improve my TikToks 1,000-fold, but really, it made my eyes hurt. You know, it wasn't that good. Is what I'm saying. Um, but I think it's just because I'm so inexperienced that I perhaps haven't found a decent use for it yet. So I hope that at some point in the future I'll figure it out. Also, good news. You're going to love this one, guys. You're going to love this one. I have a whiteboard now. Well, actually, I don't have it. It's coming in the post. The Amazon man is going to bring me a whiteboard tomorrow, I think, which is great because that means that the next live that we do, I get to draw pictures on a wall. I don't know why I'm so excited about it. I think it's going to help a little bit more the visual aspect of this channel. I hope so. I hope so. I don't know. I don't know. It's March. It's Easter. It's exciting. We're almost at the end of the academic year. It's a very strange time of year to be in. Because you go from like having no freedom in the first term. You have a bit of fun. You have Halloween. You have Christmas. Nice things, fun things. But then you also have term 2, which between January and March is just utter torture. It's just nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens. And it's really tiring. Yeah, so, I'm tired. But yes. Well, I hope that you found this video about phrasal verbs interesting. Is anybody just listening because they like the sound of my voice? I got a comment from a student recently that they enjoyed my voice, whereas I think that most British people would say that I have like quite an annoying voice. So if you find my voice interesting or you find it nice to listen to, British people disagree. British people disagree with that. I don't know why. I don't know why. I think it's because I have a very nasally voice, you know, naturally quite nasally. But also because I'm from the north. And when you're from the north, you kind of have a bit of a way of speaking that's a little bit countryside. I don't know why I'm doing ASMR, you know, northern accent. It's not my intention. Um, Maybe I will do that. Maybe one day I will do a live in my northern accent. Maybe one day I will do a live in my Sheffield voice. Hello, love. How you doing? No, that's not how I sound. It's not how I sound at all. Although I don't disagree with the fact that when you speak different languages, you have a different voice. So people who are speaking English, or at least in my case, when I speak English, I have a very low voice. Pero cuando empiezo a hablar en español, el volumen no, ¿cómo se llama? The pitch, la frecuencia de mi voz aumenta. Es como que estoy hablando así. It's really strange. Like it's really strange because you go from speaking in English to speaking very low, and then in Spanish I'm like hi, you know, hi. It's like your personality changes as a result. It's really strange. It's really weird. Anyways, don't know why I'm talking to you about this. Okay. Well, I'm gonna give it 5 more minutes. If anybody has any grammar related questions, like I said, please put it in the chat. You know, I'm chomping at the bit for a grammar question. I love a good grammar question. However, if you don't have any doubts, if you don't have any questions, because I explained phrasal verbs so incredibly well, of course, then that's great as well. That would be very good news if my students said, Emily, no, you explained that so perfectly. I have absolutely no requirement for an explanation. Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh, not necessary. But yeah, very cool. Very cool, everybody. It's nice to just relax. Take a break, you know? Maybe I could be one of those channels that just sort of falls asleep and then everybody just sits and talks in the comments because I'm asleep. That's bothersome. It bothers me a little bit that people do that. Because it's like, okay, so you won't send messages in the chat when I'm talking directly to you, but you will send messages in the chat when I'm asleep. Maybe I should just leave it on. And then if somebody comes on, I'm like, aha, I saw you. Put messages in the chat. Okay, I'll tell you one more thing. And then if anybody else comes, you know, and they have a question, then they can tell me. I plaited my hair. Can you see that? Look at that. Looks like a rat tail. But no, I did this a couple of days ago. I plaited my hair. And like the way that it has made my hair go all is intense. It's crazy stuff. I look like a wet dog. So I don't know if you've seen some of the reels that I've posted recently, but yeah, I look a little bit like a wet dog in those videos because this has just been what my hair has been looking like. I kind of like it though. I feel like I'm not supposed to like it. It's not. I don't have curly hair. I have very straight hair. And also as I get older, something that I've noticed is that I have very thin hair. So when it's straight, it looks incredibly thin. And so I kind of did I did some plaits. So does anybody know what plait is? It's when you divide your hair into 3 pieces and you kind of fold it over itself multiple times and then you tie it together. So I plaited my hair while it was wet and then I went to sleep, and then when I woke up and I unplaited it. So I took the plaits out. My hair was like this, and it's crazy because normally it doesn't stay in quite as long, but it's been like maybe 48 hours and my hair is still like this, which is really strange because my hair is so thin that normally it doesn't keep anything in, but this time it has. It's very strange, very, very strange. So yeah, it's cool. My techniques for cool fresh hair involve things like brushing it and not going to the hairdresser. I don't go to the hairdresser. That's a cool fact about me. I try to get strangers to cut my hair on the street. I go out on the street and I go, "Excuse me, I don't want to pay to get my hair cut. Do you have scissors in your house? Would you like to?" And then they do it for me. I'm just kidding. Nobody cuts my hair. Not even me. I think it's been like 4 years since I cut my hair. I remember because the last time I went to the hairdresser, literally my hairdresser is 30 seconds up the street, which is really close. But the last time does that sound good? Sorry. The last time I spoke to my hairdresser, she said, "You don't take care of your hair." And I said, "No, I suppose you're right. I suppose I don't. Yeah, that's true." Oh dear. Well, I'm just not a very good person, you know. So, anyways, yeah, that's all I have to tell you today. I don't have anything else to say. I'm very excuse me. I'm very happy to have spoken to everybody today about phrasal verbs. I hope that the examples were useful for people. I hope that the recording is just as useful. Hopefully, the last 15 to 20 minutes of this recording can just get sort of snipped away and burnt. I also hope that, you know, this entire time I've been talking quite close to the microphone. Hopefully, you can understand me and it's not been difficult to hear. But, you know, it's been a nice little nighttime episode of the Grammar Police Live. I really hope that you have enjoyed it today. I have enjoyed it very much. And hopefully, the next time that I do a live, we'll have 7 million people in the room, all talking about phrasal verbs at the same time. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I don't want that. Maybe it's nicer to just talk to myself. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm gonna go now. I hope everybody enjoys their evening. And yeah, have a nice Easter. I'm probably going to record quite a few more lives and YouTube videos over Easter, so be prepared for that. Enjoy and see you around. Goodbye, everybody.